Hello, everyone. We are Vishal and Sonika Jain.
From Nishanik Station, New Jersey. And we are very excited about the training tonight. You guys are going to learn a whole lot and you will know exactly how to move your business forward.
Great. So I'm going to invite on the stage three business partners to have a conversation about the millennial mindset. So we're going to have Evelyn Martinez, who's Q12 in the business. We have Raddy Martinez, also Q12 in the business, and John Prather, who's Eagle Plus in the business. So over to you guys.
Thank you so much, Vishal. Hi, everyone. I'm Evelyn Martinez. I started a business a couple years ago, went Q12 Platinum last year, and broke a Q12 Platinum this year. I'm very excited to be chatting with you.
Everybody, good evening. This is Raddy Martinez. I reside in Philadelphia, PA. Personally sponsored by my cousin, Evelyn Martinez, background in accounting and finance. Really excited to be part of this training tonight. Over to you, John.
Hey guys, John Prather here. Sponsored by Elaine Shekinino, Upline Emeralds, Devang and RT at Varu out of LA, and the amazing Diamonds, Vishal and Sonika Jain. I have a background as a civil engineer, as well as a former professional football player. So I knew we were gonna start to dive into the topic, I guess kind of like having a fireside chat. But so, I mean, I know one thing that I definitely wanted to share, kind of just to start off, was to give you guys on the call here, like a take, I guess, into like why I started my business, and I remember going back a couple of years now, really thinking the initial drive, I remember when I met Vishal and Elaine and Devang and RT was, really for extra money, I remember the biggest thing was I had just graduated from college and was really looking to do something more than just working a 9-to-5 job, because I know, like both of you guys, Evelyn and Raddy, we've experienced a little bit of corporate America and, really wanted to create some other choices. And I know that was a big thing for me, but I guess, what about you guys, Raddy or Evelyn, if you guys want to chime in, like, why did you guys start the business? I know you guys both have, great degrees, but what was that reason for you guys?
For sure, John. Thank you for the question. So definitely with me, kind of to go back 3 years ago, when I saw this opportunity, I was still a college student attending LaSalle University my senior year. I was pursuing a career to become an accountant. And then, my cousin Evelyn reached out to me and she was like, Raddy, what are you doing? You're just gonna do 9-to-5 and that's it? You definitely need to explore your options to look for like other sources of income to create. And she asked me like, are you looking to make extra income? And at the time I was a college student. I had a good mindset on me, but I was definitely in need of some extra income to help me pay for some tuition to go to college and school, and also to help me with the semester, to help me pay for these books. Accounting books are not cheap, guys. They're very, very expensive. So similar to you, John, I got started to make some extra income, and that became my initial why. And then later on, I'll share more on like why I have built my actual business today. Like, what's the reason behind it? So over to you, Evelyn.
No, yeah, I agree, Raddy. Like I'm so glad that it's been so helpful for you. And like when I started, I was contacted through LinkedIn, connected with Amin, Anjali, and I'm so glad that they did reach out and share the opportunity with me, because I was in a point in my life where I kept asking myself, am I living to work or am I working to live? And although I had supplemental income, like I had extra income and I didn't have debt or anything like that, money wasn't a challenge basically, but I had challenges with time and I just wanted more, a better lifestyle, wanted to move back to New Jersey, be closer to my family. I wanted to make enough money that even if I was to switch jobs or something like that, like I would still be fine, even if I was to move. And I felt a void in my heart after I finished my master's, because like I'm the type of person, I like to challenge myself. I like to do something new and exciting and something different. Like if I'm just home after, like I am not a sit at home and watch TV type of person, you know what I mean? So being able to be productive again and make a difference has been so exciting and was so exciting at the time. I know like, managing finances and stuff can be hard for folks sometimes. So.
Yeah, no, I think one thing that you just said, Evelyn, that was really impactful for me, like you had mentioned, was being able to have a bigger impact. Like not necessarily, I guess, like you had mentioned, money was the biggest driver for you. And I remember that was something also that I realized, because coming from a background of pursuing professional football, I actually grew up and played high school and college and trained with a lot of NFL players. And one of the things that I realized, like you mentioned, is that oftentimes for many people, money is kind of the center of their world. But one thing that I realized when getting introduced to the leadership of this team is that money wasn't the main driver for them. Like Vishal just showed in the presentation, there's a lot more to this business than money. I know Bill Britt has a talk about that, and that was one thing I think I really saw after coming to my first conference and starting to come to more events, was that this business has a lot wider impact than just creating extra income, having a lot of money. And it's through creating those relationships with the mentors, that we've all gotten connected to. I think that was a huge impact for me. So I think you really touched on something big. I know that impacted me in my first few months as well.
No, thanks. And it's true. Like for some of the people who are around my social circle, or even just in general, a lot of times people get caught up too, even with getting into debt so quickly, as opposed to investing and let those investments or like that asset-based income then pay for your luxuries. Like that's the best setup for peace of mind. You know what I mean? This thinking, I've never done this before, but I've seen it happen, and I've coached folks to stay away from where, for example, you go on like a vacation on a credit card, or like get into debt for different things that later on you're paying for it, and then you're like stressed out and stuff. And what's interesting is like how decisions, and when it comes to managing your finances, all the decisions that we make have a trickle compound effect in your life. And I remember when I met Radi, when I already knew Radi, of course he's my cousin, but like I remember when Radi, when you started at the beginning, like that's something that we worked together and you definitely improved on.
Absolutely. Yeah. So originally it was definitely the income and the, the extra opportunity to receive mentorship to, personal development. But I mean, I can tell you guys that today, like I built the business out of respect. I built the business out of like a responsibility to my uplines to make sure that I'm, not only giving back to them for the time spent into me, investing into me to help me grow myself financially and also in different areas of my life. But now like the opportunity has came like a responsibility to make an impact and kind of like pay forward to the next person. And I truly feel that through an opportunity like this, we can impact communities, like our local friends and family members, people that don't have, an association to give them positive energy and motivation to kind of like move forward in life. And also I feel like the opportunity give us an opportunity to impact our families. That I speak to my team a lot on family, and also like we have a lot of family core values, especially me and Evelyn being of the same family. We understand that like we're doing this to prepare for like the next generation that is going after us. So, it is important to not only earn the respect, but be an example so that, the next generation and the impact we make on our next families, we were the primary example because of that. And I feel like mentorship played a huge role in that creation. So, definitely thank you a lot for Evelyn for showing me this. And, we're running with this into the day that I die and moving it and passing it forward to the next person, always.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. And I think one thing that you also touched on, Radi, that was huge, that I've realized after being in business for a couple of years now, what am I now, 25 years old, so looking back, I think like you had mentioned, like learning things that I've learned I've learned in this business that don't necessarily have to do with business, like you said, is managing your finances. And, like Evelyn was saying, was like getting out of debt. And I know those were some of the things that I guess we don't necessarily like speak about or kind of coach people on, because we're not like financial advisors, like, you guys have a background in. But one of the things that I know that was a big drive for me was that like, it just made sense. Like you had mentioned, Evelyn, like I had seen a lot of friends, like even now, like through the pandemic, as things are slowly starting to open back up, close back down, whatever, whatever's happening right now. But seeing a lot of people, like you had mentioned, like taking all these trips and fancy vacations, and it's kind of that aspect of like delayed gratification. Like when I hear Vishal and Sonika and, my mentors, Devang and RT as well, Kumar and Anjali, Kunkan and Samina, like hearing like that grind that they went to for the first couple of years of like saving their money, delaying all these fancy trips, and now seeing the lifestyle that they have now, it makes me laugh a little bit. Like when you see people try to like, flex on social media, because it's like, you can show what you want to show, but then it's like behind the scenes, what's actually going on, and I think that was one of the things learning from my mentors, like learning how to, I think at the age of, I got launched in business at 22, and by 23, they helped me get completely out of debt from student loans and, paying off my car and, learning how to start to build up a savings. Like these are things I guess you're not necessarily taught like through audios and stuff, but just by being around financially successful people, you start to learn these skill sets. And I think that's something that being a business owner, like you kind of have to, especially as a younger person, you have to really choose to go after those, relationships and learning that from your mentors. Cause it's something that I guess like, and I'm sure maybe you guys can even chime in, like, I guess our mentors didn't force us to take the information. They didn't force us to try to better our lives. At some point, it was us that had to go out and kind of create something for ourselves. And I know that's something that I guess like the talk millennial mindset is, I think like you had mentioned, Evelyn, like we have so much time to create a lot of success, but you kind of have to develop a little bit of that sense of urgency now to delay that gratification, put in the work now, because if you don't, you're going to look back in your 30s, 40s, and 50s and be like, wow, like I missed out on this opportunity, but I mean, I don't know. I guess you guys can even chime in on that too.
No, you just gave me goosebumps, John, because it's not even through this opportunity where delayed gratification makes a difference. So a little bit more of what I do professionally, like I'm currently working as a manager at an investment management company. And like you said, like I have more of like a finance background. That's why I studied. And for me to get out of debt, for me to like make any progression in my career, I've always had to make sacrifices. I've always had, not necessarily sacrifice, but just like delay gratification or think really smart about what decisions I'm making, everything, like so many different things that I did to make a long-term difference. And I'm so glad that I did that. So when I got involved in this mentorship opportunity and I saw some of those examples like you're talking about, it made a lot of sense to me because I had already experienced it in my early 20s. See what I mean? So, and it's nice that you're getting to experience that now and you're already making decisions that are making a difference. I mean, I'm sure already you're seeing a difference compared to like a couple years ago, even last year, because that's how it is, regardless of what venture people take, is what I'm trying to say. So cool. Radi, did you want to say something? Awesome. Radi, why don't you talk a little bit more about, like, I know I was mentioning about asset-based income, but what about like with, as a college student starting out and with your setting up your Ditto?
Awesome. Yeah. So yeah, that I can definitely speak on because that's something that duplication across my team, I must have needed to learn in order to teach it. So yeah, I mean, when we talk about what is this business is a few things, is a combination of duplication, compounding your hard work over a period of time to create a massive cash flow, for multiple generations to come. And in order for you to do that, the number one key step is Ditto. We talk about Ditto all the time, why is it so important and how to pretty much do it, right? So with me coming in, a few things that I needed to understand that was crucial in my life. Not everybody coming into the business is the same, but with me, I already knew that financially, I had to make sure that I had a short-term solution to what was happening with my finances, which, as a college student wasn't the best of the best. So with me, with my personal Ditto, and again, for a lot of the new partners who are attending this call and don't know what Ditto is pretty much a delivery system of products, kind of like a subscription for products that come to you and your customers on the first of the month. So the way that I created my Ditto is by, starting to reach out, making a list of customers. And my mindset towards this topic towards Ditto was that I needed to create at least 15 to 30 customers, loyal customers, before I started tackling the business, like building the business for the long term. That was like my short-term mindset. I needed to make at least 15 to 30 customers. And my mindset was, if they can generate at least 10 PVs each, I can have a personal circle on Ditto on the first of the month of about 150 to 300 every single month. And, shortly after, getting in business, reaching out, making a list of customers that I wanted to reach out for customer, not business partnership, because maybe they were not, you know, the best fit for the opportunity. I created my customer list. I did a great personal use as a college student. I knew that if I spent at least $5 a day as a college student, that's like 50 points at the end of the month. So, you know, a third of my data was covered just by personal use. And then family. One thing that I learned about family is you need to have an emotional connection when it comes to getting support from family. So you need to share at least one of your whys that relates to that family member that you're particular speaking to. For me, like my parents were not very supportive in the beginning when I got started, because they were, traditional entrepreneurs. They have products and services that they already offer to the community. But when I told them that I was doing an opportunity on the side to help me pay for college, to help me, develop myself and get myself ready to be a better leader, they're more supportive towards the cause instead of the opportunity. So they were like, all right, it doesn't matter, what is it that you're doing? As long as it's for a good cause, I'm willing to support. Oh, and I also told them that I'm a college student and I want to use this opportunity to help me fund my college tuition so that they don't have to pay for it. That sold them out. They're like, yes, we want you to grow in this. But that was my mindset, Evelyn. That's pretty much what I did. How about you guys?
Yeah, no, I think just like you had said, I think that was huge. And one of the things that really helped me because I remember I launched just after I graduated, like within a month or two of graduation, I saw the opportunity. And I remember the two books that really made the biggest impact on me were Consumer Power and Household Gold. And these, I remember when I read them, like going through the process, everything clicked. Like I remember when Vishal, he gives this classic example of like the pen and, you buy the pen and you don't make any money and everyone else makes money. But once he said that, I was like, I can make money from the products I buy. All right, I'm in. I was sold at that point. But definitely after like really, again, listening to audios and starting to read, these books from the BWW system, it really started to click that like I kind of like that investment mentality, like kind of like you had mentioned, Evelyn, every single dollar that I started to spend, I started to realize, okay, is this money going to bring me money or is it money that's just leaving my pocket? And this was something, I guess, given your guys' background, you were taught a little bit of this, I guess, in school. But I remember as an engineer, we're not taught anything about money. I was taught how to build bridges, build buildings. We didn't get taught how to like create wealth for ourselves. And I remember that was the biggest thing that made the most sense. And honestly, what really solidified, in the really beginning, any negative that I got was that I remember I was talking to this with another partner was that, okay, maybe somebody brings up negativity, but what other opportunities do you have? And when I read these books, it just made sense. Like, I'm going to use these products for the rest of my life. Everyone I know is going to use them. Why not make money from it? Why not create 150, 300 PV Ditto? And I remember, like you had mentioned, Ratty, one of the things I did in the beginning was create my parents as customers. And I remember they weren't super positive about the opportunity. Like they had heard of Amway and stuff like that before. But one of the things like you had mentioned is that they were willing to support me, and I think that's the difference between, some partners, if they can approach it more from a supporting me perspective. I know Devang and RT have shared that with myself and a lot of partners on my team. If you can kind of convey that message to anybody that you're talking to that, don't necessarily, I'm not trying to sell you something, but I want you to support me as a business owner. At that point, it doesn't really matter what you're selling. It just matters that they want to help you out. And once I remember I read these books, I was able to really explain to them, like, you're buying this stuff anyway. Like, they're always buying like these random products here and there. It's like, why not just transition a little bit to me? And it's 6-month money back guarantee. Just try it out. I remember I told my parents, just get on Ditto for 6 months and, we'll figure it out after. And I remember 6 months came and they were like, do we have to keep buying this stuff? I was like, yeah, don't worry about it. And their Ditto went from, I think they did like the first month they ordered like maybe 50 to 75 PV worth of products. And now they do over 200, 250 PV first day of the month, every single month. And I know I have multiple partners in my team like Rand and Michelle and Carlos and Christy who have duplicated that same mindset of once you realize that you can make money by using your own products, then you can obviously teach that to close family members and friends. And, it all starts with that investment mentality though. Like you have to realize that you're not spending money, you're investing money into your own business and your own products,
Absolutely. And like, I remember when I first even started learning about Ditto, to be honest, it didn't make sense to me. I think you give us a lot of credit, John, with like the whole business stuff. I mean, didn't really learn that much about how to create wealth. It was more about how to become a better employee, to be honest. And one thing though that I'm so glad I did was just trust Amit and Anjali from the beginning, because all I was thinking was like, I don't really fully understand the long-term benefit of this at the moment, or I don't get it. But if she's suggesting it, then it must be for a reason. So getting that done and starting off on the right foot, I'm so glad that I was able to do that and then duplicate it, because when I went silver, I wouldn't have reached that silver level on the 14th of the month had I not had my whole team on Ditto on the 1st of the month. You know what I'm saying? So that sometimes when we're just thinking of like our own personal circle and our team at the beginning, we may not be thinking about the long-term benefits, and Ditto really creates that asset-based income model for our business. So that was really, really good.
Absolutely. And I think that was the biggest thing. And even like, I know we had talked even before when we were kind of planning this out, that whole mindset of like that investment mentality, like investing into your tools. And like you mentioned, like if you lead by example, then obviously your team's going to follow your lead, and just like you said, Evelyn, like there would have been no way that you would have gone silver so quick in the first 2 weeks of the month. I remember, without other people that were kind of being educated. And I remember hearing from Vishal and Sonika all the time, like Evelyn's like, she has all these. I remember every time I would come up to New Jersey, like you would be giving out products, giving out books, giving out audios and stuff. And I remember you were kind of that, star on Vishal and Sonika's team, that was like rising really, really fast along with Ratty. And like, I mean, what was that like for you? Because I know like you had mentioned you'd studied business, you'd worked in the corporate field for a little bit, but you never started a business. Like what made you have that mindset early on? Because I feel like that's something that a lot of people on this call and just in general, like if they can get that mindset of investment versus spending, like it would really revolutionize, their speed of growing the business, I guess.
Definitely. I really think it comes down to the fact that I've had the opportunity to have parents who are entrepreneurs growing up and seeing so many family members. Sometimes it doesn't even have to be your own parents, but just seeing and getting a sense for traditional entrepreneurship. I mean, just for my dad's business, I mean, he invested hundreds of thousands of dollars at the beginning, and like to pay that off, it takes years. But of course, he sees the benefit, and I've seen him do all different types of investments. I think Radhi can speak for his own family too. And with this business opportunity, being at the beginning, being able to invest in like conference CDs, personal development stuff. I mean, you don't even have to compare it to a traditional business. Even if I thought about it from a school perspective, like how much is a credit at the school where I was going, it was pretty much like $1,000. So yeah. So like my thought process was I know what investing in a business and investing in personal development looks like. So I'm going to do this and I'm not going to look at the numbers. And I would buy like hundreds of CDs at the time. We just recently transitioned into the podcast, but buying credits, CDs, it doesn't matter. Buying books. I remember one time Vishal got to see the trunk of my car and we took a picture because it was like stacked with different tools. And I've helped different partners in my team with budgeting. And I think Radhi could speak to budgeting a lot more. But one thing I've always kept in mind was when Vishal and Sonika would say, where there's tool flow, there is growth. So the tool flow is really important. And I think that was a big factor. It's just, even if some of the partners in my team couldn't afford something, I wanted them to have the opportunity to learn and grow if they could just borrow it from me, for example. So I wanted to create the environment for growth. And that was one of the ways I was able to do that.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I want to speak a little bit on this. Don't let me get in between, but yeah, speak about talking about serving leadership, right? So Evelyn, you've been kind of like the best example to me as what a real servant leader does for the team. And yeah, you mentioned budgeting. When I got started, I got started at 20 years old. My finances weren't the best, but I remember you telling me, giving me the green light. You said, Roddy, you kind of are getting the hang of this business. I don't want you to worry about the investment side of the opportunity when it comes to like, the books and the stuff. Just tell me what you need to learn and grow, and I will supply you. That's literally what you said to me. And it wasn't like you did it forever. Like as soon as my business started booming, and I remember being proud of like taking ownership and responsibility of being the supplier for my team when it comes to books and audios and CDs and stuff. Now it's so easy because we have the app and we just share credits with people. So that's phenomenal. But yeah, thanks, Evelyn, for being the servant leadership. And when it comes to budget, I mean, budgeting is not really like, now that I have a good budget, I just look back at the stuff that I was doing, and it was just poor habits that I have developed throughout the time. And I feel like habits really make a person. And with me, I had habits of going out, and pretty much, I was the go out type of guy. And I had people in my association, and we'll go every Friday night, every Saturday night to a different party, a nightclub or something. And we would really like spend a lot of money there. And in the beginning, you talked about people who use credit to, so that was me. I didn't, I will work the whole week. And usually what I make was enough to just pay my bills. But then I would be invited to go to all these, toxic associations, and I'll have to, use my credit line to buy things that were really like not really good at all. And then that would hurt my budget. So I use that as an excuse to not invest into my business early on, because I was so much into debt because of previous bad habits that and bad decisions that I made. That kind of carried my business early on. So, I got really excited to then, start cutting off some of these bad habits that I had from previous past, associate myself with people who are growing in this business, who are leaders in this business, who have fruits in the trees, as they say, who have fruits in this business. And, I learned from Ahmed and Anjali and Vishal Sonika on just how to just manage my finances better, and of course the entire BWW system. But yeah, that's pretty much it on budgeting.
No, of course. And I mean, sometimes people get caught up with this whole budgeting thing and they think it's going to be restrictive, but honestly, it can be liberating because it gives you you have to give money direction of where to go. So like on a simple sense, you have how much income you have, and then subtract that by how much you have to pay and stuff, and then what do you have left over. And I think what people need to keep in mind is the more you increase your income, then the more you have left over, of course. But then when you look at how much you have in expenses, I'm so glad that Vishal and Sonika created this like budget template that we've used as a tool in our business, because when I'm doing a budget session, I'm focusing on the variable expenses. Like, obviously people have stuff that's fixed, like rent, things that you can't really change that much. It's not out of your control. But in life, we got to focus on what we can control, not on what we can't control. And if you look at what you can control, then that's what Hadi's talking about. That's what Hadi's getting at. I just wanted to point that out. Hadi's basically saying that he looked at what was in his control and started adjusting his habits. And then he taught that to his team.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think just like you had said, like, when I first launched into business, one of the biggest, principles that I learned through the audios and books is like the law of sowing and reaping. And it was something that, looking back, I had used my whole life, but just never knew. Like wherever you sow like your time, your money, and your effort is where you're going to reap the benefits. Like Ratty was saying, like myself, and I mean, all of us, when we, in college having fun, younger generation, it's like you're sowing your time, your money, and your effort into, you're sowing it into, things that are fun, but aren't necessarily going to progress your life forward. And I think that was one of the tough pills to swallow. And I think something that really, just in my personal experience, I've seen not only in this business, but just out everywhere, is that it's a tough pill to swallow for a lot of younger people, that at some point you have to focus to be successful. Like you have to eventually cut things out of your life, like the whole Building Your Foundation by Brad Duncan, snip things out in order to be successful. And I think that's the toughest, whether you're a millennial or not, I think that's the toughest thing that I've seen, that really, that's when people make that decision that they're ready to snip things, whether it's finances that they're snipping, whether it's associations, whether it's just different focuses, when they're ready to kind of make that decision to move themselves forward, that's when they really start to see success. And I can't remember who said it, But I remember in an audio I heard, it's like, you don't become a man or a woman when you turn 18 years old. You become a man or a woman when you start making decisions like that, when you start taking responsibility of your life. And I mean, I can speak from experience. I've seen people in my family, friends who are in their 20s, 30s, 40s, who still act like children, you know, who still just do things that are just fun, that are self-serving. You know, it's like that, the YOLO mentality of like, you know, I'm just going to do whatever. You only live once. You know, and I think you should flip it around, and it's not like YOLO, like, oh, you only live once, do whatever. It's like, you only live once, like make an impact, like do something productive with your life, you know? And I think that was one of the things like you guys had mentioned that, you know, it's tough to, again, it's tough to teach, or you can't really impose it on somebody. But for those that really want to be successful in this environment, and really any environment, you have to come to that realization and have that mature understanding in yourself that, you know, you're not going to succeed by doing what everyone else does. You're going to have to go off the beaten path, and for a few years, sacrifice some of these things and sow the seeds into your money, your time, your energy, you know, into this business, so that you can reap those rewards. Like Vishal and Sonika, you know, 20 years. I mean, I can't even fathom 20 years of financial freedom. Like it's ridiculous. And I mean, you hear of all these other leaders, like, and I think when people really understand like the magnitude of that, like people don't have financial freedom for decades and decades for something that they just, I just got in, had some fun, you know, did a few, you know, went to a few meetings and did it. No, like there's a commitment behind that, you know, and I think that sort of a commitment is something that I know we've all made, and we're in that process, I know, of getting to that financial freedom. But I think that's the mindset I know you guys were talking on that really kind of struck me when I was early on in business, you know, those principles.
I wanted to add something to John. I like that you said the YOLO mindset, right? So we're talking about the millennial mindset here, right? Which is kind of like the YOLO mindset. But the mindset of YOLO that you need in this business is not you only live once. The mindset that you need in this business is you only die once. You live every day. And the thing is, you living every day gives you choices and opportunity to go out there and make a difference. So that's the mindset that, you know, people need to look for if it's a transition. You know, it's crazy.
Definitely. And I guess even kind of going off like what you were saying, I guess pivoting kind of towards more, I know, like work ethic, I guess can kind of start to dive into a little bit of that. You know, I know that was something like you had mentioned, like just creating that impact. And I remember I've heard in audios as well, is that, you know, if you can make those decisions to really move yourself forward in life, in your business, in your relationships, it comes from cutting those things out of your life. And it comes from, you know, surrounding yourself with people that are going to push you in the direction that you're really looking to go. And I mean, I know Evelyn, one thing that I've always wondered, because I mean, I know I've kind of looked up to you ever since I launched into business. You know, I mean, you've always had a lot of like degrees, and you've been very successful outside of this business as well as in this business. Like, what did you see? What was some of the reasons why you chose to, you know, because you made a good income, I remember from hearing, just you've mentioned it before. Like, why did you decide to commit to this business? Like, what were some of the work habits that you had, you know, even though you had, because I remember you traveled and you've done a lot like with your job, but you still managed to make this business a priority. Like, what did that look like for you?
I mean, the main thing is that it gets to a point where you have to learn to say no. Like, time management is really self-management. And what happened is that by me attending the conference, that's really what happened is once I attended the conference and then I attended another conference, I got the bigger picture and everything started making more sense, how this could be something I could do for myself. And some of the challenges with corporate America is just like, from my experience, are a couple of things. One, all the income, and this is just something I had to self-reflect on, was a lot of income I'm making is like paying, a good chunk goes to taxes. So, and then by having a business, you can work some of that out, right? Then the other thing too is, if I want to gain and make more money, you got to wait for an opportunity to try to seek something that's promotional in nature. And at the point where I'm at now, maybe I could do like one move if I wanted to, but it's very difficult. It's like, how, right? Like Vishal and Sonika were saying, except, I mean, what pyramid is really a pyramid? You know what I mean? It's like, there's less people at the top in corporate America. So it just starts getting even harder. So like to put into perspective, the amount of money I made through the business last year, it took me, I know I did this math, it was like 8 years in raises through my job to make that. And then sometimes what's hard too is like I would have to move around, like you have to kind of jump sometimes. Basically, the whole system is like challenging. So some of that self-reflection made me prioritize, basically, John. So saying, even though I could like travel and stuff like that, some habits I had in the past, I said no to a lot of extra travel. I remember the first summer when I started in business, prioritize like the 9 core steps, and getting focused on the 9 core steps every day is what always helps me then continue my business forward. You see what I mean? So that would be it. And then the other thing is just being comfortable going the extra mile, whether it's driving wherever or doing whatever the case may be. And having an opportunity to do something for yourself is so different. And not just, and when I say for yourself, I mean for like you have your own business, but when you do something also for others, that combination with this business is so rewarding. So that's just, it's just different. Not to say that it's not like, and the other thing too, is that this business is flexible enough. So if someone is like, they really like their job and stuff like that, I've never had any challenge, like anything like where I'm like, oh, I hate what I'm doing. Like, no, like I didn't have that, don't have that. Do you see what I'm saying? So what's also cool too is like for folks who like what they're doing, like, hey, you can have flexibility and you can figure this out, but it doesn't happen overnight. So like it took me making some adjustments and working with my coaches and mentors to sort that out, to then put the business in the center and then sort things around it and make it work. So, but it all comes down to a decision. Once I made a decision, then other things start coming into place, and then that's how everything moves forward.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing that you said that struck me was, like you had mentioned, is making a decision. You know, I mean, I remember hearing from Bill Britt all the time, success is just a decision. I think he has a video about that, where it's like, once you decide that enough is enough, you know, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, I think is what he always used to say, is that like, it's just time to move forward. And that was one of the biggest things I know. I think I've had multiple of those sort of, I guess, decisions in this business. And I definitely want to hear from you guys, like what those decisions looked like for you. But I remember for me, there came 2 times. I can think of 2 distinct moments, and I'm sure it'll just be an everlasting thing as you're in this business. But I can think of 2 specific instances where I really was like, that's it. Like, I need to move on. And I remember the first one was very, very new in business. Like, I think it was my second conference. It was, I think, FED, what was it, like 2018 or 2019, one of the first FED that I went to. And I remember I had done a lot of work, like from the first conference that I went to, which was like basically when I launched. I didn't have anybody there, and I had launched a few people, but nobody ended up coming to that FED conference. And I remember just being so upset, because I think you, like Ratty and Evelyn, like you guys were growing, and I was like, man, like I've been doing work, like I'm committed, but like I knew in my heart that I was never not doing the business. Like I was always doing the habits, doing my core run, but it wasn't like a high priority. It was a priority, but it wasn't like, you know, I was still playing football. I was still hanging out with friends. I was still doing some other things. And I'd seen too much at that conference, where, again, kind of goes off of the conference coming up, where I was just like, I can't, like, especially the competition aspect, like I can't not move forward. And I remember I made a decision that conference, like I'm never coming to any other event without a team with me. And I remember from that FED to the winter conference, I remember I launched 5 new legs, and I think I had almost 10 or 12 people to that conference just 90 days later, even through the Christmas holidays, because I just made that decision that, okay, I'm going to stop getting on social media and scrolling for hours. I'm going to stop wasting my time after work each day. I'm going to stop just being in the business, and I'm going to start building the business. Like, and that decision was huge for me. And I remember the second really big decision is when I really decided that I wanted to build this business. And I remember I was actually out in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I'll never forget. And I was trying to get to a conference, and I was playing pro football, but like things were kind of, it was crazy. Like, wasn't making a lot of money. And I remember I launched, it's a crazy story. I had one partner who ended up launching like in Minnesota, like not too far away from where I was at in South Dakota. Didn't have any, I only had like 10 people on my team. So it was wild that he had launched in my business. And like, he wasn't even that committed, But for some reason, like we were going through and he was on Kohler's team. And I remember like just out of the blue, like he kind of was wishy-washy through the process, like just barely launched. And we like weren't really expecting anything. And I had no way to get to this conference in, I think, St. Louis. And randomly, like a week before the conference, like he was a high school student. It was still the school year. And he was just like, it was a spring break, I think. And he was like, I want to go to the conference. And we were just like, okay, yeah, I guess. I mean, get your ticket. Let's go. Let's get the ticket. And I remember I had no other transportation. And I was just like, you know what? I remember telling my coach that week, I was like, I wasn't suited up for that game. So I was like, I have to take care of some family situations. I have to go. And this kid drove 2 hours out of his way. And then me and him drove from Sioux Falls, South Dakota to St. Louis, 10 plus hours to this conference overnight. We like slept in the car. And I just remember at that conference, like it was a crazy situation how we got there. But I remember when I got in the building, like it was so refreshing to see everybody. And I remember Ali and Maka came up, I think on Saturday night, and his video is called The Why. This is the talk that changed my life, basically. And I remember him saying that Bill Britt just simply, he wasn't anything special. He just made a decision that, I'm not going to work a job the rest of my life. I'm not going to let other people influence my decisions. And he said, any one of you guys in this crowd in the next 18 months can be successful and do exactly what Bill Britt did if you have the commitment to do so. And I remember hearing that. And I remember just on the drive back, another 10-hour trip back, texting Vishal and Sonika, Devang and Arti and Elaine. And I was just like, I don't want to play football anymore. Like I want to talk to you guys right now. And I don't know if they got nervous. I was like, I want to talk. And I don't know what they were thinking, but I was just like, I'm done like football. Like I see the fruit on the tree. Yes, I could go to the NFL. I had some looks, but it was just like, I want to build this business. I want to be free. And I remember once I made that decision and I came home and I mean, things just started, the business necessarily didn't just explode from then on, but like got out of debt in the next 6 months. My team started to grow in Eagle, Silver, like things just slowly started to happen because I was just simply like, I'm just fed up of like, I'm fed up of being in this business, but not succeeding in this business. And it just got to me like I needed to make a decision or nothing else was going to happen. I was just going to be one of those lukewarm IBOs that has fun, loves everybody, but never sees the results that they want to see. But I definitely, I want to hear from you guys because I know you guys have inspiring stories. Like, what was that moment for you where you guys were like, went from like being in the business to like, I want to build this business?
Wow. Yeah, John. So I don't think I can top your inspirational story. That is phenomenal. But for me, what comes to my mind is the work ethic now. The work ethic that you said you had, like those 90 days, those, conference to conference, building your business conference to conference, that is very inspirational. For me, like, yeah, I had the one sick moment where, this is like the biggest turning point in my business for me. I can like after this, it was skyrocket. I took a vacation very early in business. I was probably like just getting started in business. So that's why I had a lot of success quickly because my turning point happened right away. Some people's turning point don't happen until a little later. Mine's just like right away. I was committed since it happened. But I went to Dominican Republic. I took like a month, almost 2 months vacation for no reason, just because that's what we do in the family. But I remember getting myself into a lot of debt. I'm talking about thousands of dollars in debt. And I was very disappointed in myself. And I was like, okay, well, from this day forward, like I'm not going to be listening to the people that have been coaching me and, getting me in these type of situations because I'd be hurt, going back to the United States and having to work the whole year to pay off all this debt to then do it again next year. It made no sense to me, right? So I remember getting started in August 2018. And I fully decided to launch my business officially that day. I did the same thing you did. I talked to Ahmed and Anjali and Evelyn. I was like, I'm ready. You guys are gonna see some tremendous growth happen. And like I was skipping pins. I went from like a 150 to 3, and then I just skipped everything to 1,000 like in the next month or two. It was crazy, launching people left and right. And then I went Eagle. I went to like this leadership association called Seven Springs, hosted by Kumar. And after associating myself with those type of leadership, it felt like a vacation in the business. After taking a vacation like that, I got inspired. I was like, I want to take more vacations like this for the rest of my life. and attending those, it was called like Double Eagle Ruby Kumar Gold Diamond. Yeah. At Seven Springs, that blew my business out the water. I went from a 2,500 points Eagle, that leadership conference, to next year, a brand new Platinum Elite, doing 12,500 points with a team of about 60 to 80 people attending, trainings and conferences and a bunch of stuff. So that was the biggest growth I've ever witnessed in my business so far. So, I mean, and now a year later, in Q12 qualification, August is my last year. Well, this is my last month, I should say, of being a brand new Q12, and my birthday is this month too. So it just so happens that every single birthday, I'm a brand new pin. Platinum Elite last year, Q12 this year. So that means I'm gonna be like a diamond or something by next year. It's gonna be crazy. Nah, at least emerald around there. That's what we're shooting for. But how about you, Evelyn?
Oh, you guys cracked me up. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Turning points. There's always like different turning points. What I was saying before about saying no to some things and also investing in my own business. Listen, like once I was doing that stuff, I'm like, I'm gonna make this work, because if I'm doing this, and I got to make it work. And then seeing the business peak to peak always really helped me. We've had seminars where it was like every seminar, you want to move on, conference to conference, you want to move on. But the other thing, let me see, the other thing too is like, there's just been so many different decisions. I don't want to repeat some of the stuff that you guys already mentioned. So I'll mention like little small stuff that then adds up, because I think the little things really make a difference. So like, for example, let's see, like I deleted my Instagram app when I started, just distractions, like different stuff like that. I think you were talking about that, John. Make decisions of like, how I looked, my attire. I mean, I hadn't bought, even though I was like working, I hadn't bought suits in probably like 7 years. When I started the business, I was outdated. I was using old stuff. And then I'm like, you know what? I need to step my dress attire up. And like, because I've always known, if you want to be something, you got to look the part first. and that starts making a difference. I see these diamond ladies and like, our upline and stuff. I was like, wow, they're dressed super sharp and stuff. I'm like, okay, I want to do that. And all the things that we're talking about, whether it's like sleeping outside, waiting for a conference, like John, your story makes like tuning into the webinar, like so simple right now. But what's nice is that all these things that we're talking about that we've done and we currently do, it has us appreciate the business a lot more. So if you don't have skin in the game, then what are you going to like, how are you going to be focused and then appreciate it even more? So I think that's a part of it. And we've been, I've been pretty blessed. We've been pretty blessed that we have great partners in our team, and going through a lot of the no's along the way, et cetera, to get to the yeses, and then being able to connect with other folks the same way our upline have connected with us. That duplication has been great, because we've connected with great leaders in our team, and those leaders in our teams are the ones who then also have multiplied our business further. So that is something that I've always been excited about, and I'm even more excited about that. Like, yeah, we want to move on to other pins, but I also want to help break more platinums and more eagles, et cetera. So that's also something else but yeah, tons of different decisions and stuff. It's just appreciation and prioritization and just like figuring it out.
Oh, definitely. I think you mentioned changing your attire and the way that you look. I think that's another huge nugget that I had to do too.
Let's be real, John. You looked a lot different when you started.
I had the hair. I was a typical football player. You had to look I was in a different. I had to look the part there. And then now I'm in a different. I had to do it a little bit differently. So we've come a long way.
Yeah, I was wondering if you were gonna say you got a haircut, but okay, cool. And like.
I got some pictures of you, John, when you got started. if I could,
I have a really funny picture with Conti. With Conti, I think it was like my first month in business. Oh my, that's a whole nother story. I can't talk about that right now. But I remember I had long hair, earrings in. Oh my goodness! And I was standing next to Conti. I didn't even know who he was. Like third largest business in all of Amway. And I was just like, oh my God.
We can save some stories for Bhattacharya Go Diamond too. But I want to share too, like I've in terms of work ethic, I've also gone through some challenges that were like, you have family who are sick, or me being like having health challenges or anything like that. So I think what has really helped is just taking things one day at a time and not losing sight of what's important, so that then I can like move on. You know what I mean? So if there are some folks who are listening who are having you hear all of what we're saying, you're like, how could I make this work? Again, like focus on what you can control, and then let that, I've always thought, like, let me let that circle then just work on increasing it. And if I can also grow personally 1% every day, then that's going to make a big difference. And just that compound effect is what makes a difference. Like I said, like a lot of the stuff that we're talking about is not like we changed overnight, right? A lot of things, it was every single day. And then when you win the day, you win the week, you win the week, you win the month, you win the month, you win the year type of mindset. So if people could hone in on that, then I'm telling you, you can get through the storm, you can be on the other side and be so much better. And have faith, have a lot of faith in yourself, faith in God, faith in the business, and it really makes a big difference.
Awesome. I want to add right there something, because you're talking about like what it takes. So it's definitely like a work ethic, Evelyn. So yeah. We're all like hit the top of the performance scale, 7,500 points. You need like some type of work ethic to kind of get to those levels. It's not definitely like you walk in, a week later, a month later, you're brand new 7,500, unless you're selling e-springs left and right or something, some crazy stuff. But I remember, guys, this is something that I learned recently. It's very dear to me. I actually learned it when I got invited to show the presentation to the Milwaukee team, I think a few Mondays ago. And Nick talked about work ethic, and he talked about the difference between work ethic. I never knew it was like you have to like separate them. So I learned something. I learned that there's two types, because work ethic is very vague. What is a work ethic? Work ethic, you can have activity work ethic, or you can have results work ethic. It's two very different, distinct type of work ethic. And just to kind of like, from what I've been able to learn and kind of how to distinct the two, activity work ethic is more related to like how many books you're reading, how many talks you're listening to, how many BWW TV talks are you listening to / Amway courses are you taking. These activity work ethic are just work ethic for personal growth, for you to learn and kind of like collect the building blocks of the business, but not necessarily means you're building the business. And a lot of people, they think that work ethic is like, if I read the most books this month, my business is gonna grow. No, what they're looking for is results work ethic. And what results work ethic is, how many people are you bringing to the next open meeting, board plan? How many people from your team are inviting people to the business presentation? How many egos, how many leaders are you building, conference to conference? How many leaders are you creating? And lastly, of course, because we are in the business of products and services, how many new customers are you creating? And I learned that, like at a night out, and it blew my mind, right? So I want to hear from you guys, like what was you guys' results work ethic to get you guys to 7,500 points and, moving up to now, going platinum, Q12 and beyond.
Yeah, that was super impactful. I know one tip that I can share for myself is kind of like along those lines, like you had mentioned, Ratty, is I know I always have, and I talked about it, I think last week, is like a checklist of how many appointments I do every week, how many are every day, like if I'm listening to my audios and stuff like that, because you hear all the time, if you can track it, you can grow it. And I think that was one thing. And just to go off of what you said, like activity versus results work ethic, like I just, again, kind of going back to those decisions, I just realized that what it takes to build this business is very simple. Like it's so easy. It's not complicated. It's just a matter of, can I grow myself personally a little bit every single day, 1% every day? And can I just try to talk to somebody new, whether it be a customer, whether it be a business partner? I was listening to a talk by Paul Miller and Angelo Nardoni, I think like an attitude session. And Paul was just like, Rich DeVos once said, if you can sell one product and sponsor one person, you can go crown. It's just a matter of doing that over and over and over and over again. You know, and I think that's huge, you know, and it's doing both at the same time. And if you can do that, I mean, the sky's the limit. You know, it's just a matter of time until you're going to be successful. But again, it's the consistency.
Definitely. And then the other quick tip that I'll give, so before we move on, is keep your prime time. And then obviously like power hours and stuff, we talk about that. But the other thing is like really what it took was like 70 process appointments a month. Some of it was personal, but also within the team. And like, so it's a grind. It's to get to platinum and having a whatever it takes type of mentality. As we come to an end on the conversation, is there any like last suggestion that you guys would give real quick on like for someone who's new, for example?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is I guess what I can definitely wrap up with is there would be two things that I would suggest for everybody. Is the first thing I would suggest is to, you know, make a decision and crystallize your why. What is it? Why are you in this business? Why are you here? You know, yes, obviously personal development, things like that, but what do you want to gain out of this association? Short term, long term, like obviously everyone long term wants to be financially free, but I would encourage you to really sit down, like what does financial freedom look like to you? You know, go through your budget. How much does it cost for me to live every month? You know, and if you realize how much that is, like one thing that I always remembered is it's a finite amount of money. You know, it's not like it's going to take me $1 million a month to retire. Like it's not the amount of money, it's a couple of $1,000s. But once I crystallized my why, and for me, it was, you know, obviously financial freedom, impacting people's lives, empowering other leaders. Once I crystallized it and really understood it, it became so simple to set goals, you know, if I get to double eagle ruby, let's say, where I'm making, you know, around $10,000 per month, I would be pretty comfortable. I mean, pretty much everything I have is taken care of. And depending on obviously your lifestyle and your situation, you know, I mean, you're pretty close to financial freedom, I think, at that point. But crystallizing your why, short term and long term, because, you know, the money's not going to come next month. It's going to take some time to build it. And then the second thing I would say, and I'll wrap up with this, is don't, as Bill Britt always says, don't let anybody ever steal your dream. I don't care if it's family members, friends, you know, maybe even people in the business, you know, that don't continue, that might, you know, kind of make you feel a type of a way. But one thing that I've always, you know, kind of centered myself around is that at the end of the day, this business, I remember Vishal told me early on, he was like, it doesn't matter what happens. Nobody can physically stop you from going diamond. If you put in the work, if you do what it takes, it doesn't matter. He was like, it doesn't matter what I say, what anybody says, you'll be successful. And all of the information is in the BWW. And if you just keep coming around and just do the basic things every day, you'll learn, you'll grow, and you'll be successful. And I think as we're talking the millennial mindset, for those of you who are millennials and really any age, I mean, you have so much time in front of you. Like this business only takes a couple of years of focused effort and you'll live the rest of your life free, you know. And I'm really excited to join all the leaders of BWW to be financially free in the next, you know, couple of years, you know. But those would be the two tips I would say. Crystallize your why and don't let anybody ever steal your dream or take away your dream or discount what you want to do in your life.
Yep. Great tips, John. For me, right, my message to everybody listening to this podcast or streaming in on the training, one thing is, as an entrepreneur, you will develop multiple streams in your lifetime. My message is succeed in this one first. You'll see that it will be like a great opening to transition to many other things. Succeed in this opportunity first. You got to be successful in this opportunity, right? And success is composed of two things. Like really, if you condense it down, success requires both urgency and patience. You need urgency when it comes to making the effort to do the work, but then you need patience to see the results. And anything that requires success or anything that is worthwhile building long-term is going to require urgency and patience. So, you know, if you guys can master those two things, you figure out how to work it, hey, ain't nothing stopping you. Like John said, ain't nothing that can physically stop you from being successful in this business, right? Over to you, brother.
Awesome. And then all I would say to wrap up, to add to what you guys said, for a new person is like, look, like make sure you are a solid building block. So honor the partnership, get that solid. Don't have your upline or anyone to question. I remember the first time my coaches asked me, did you buy your ticket? I'm like, duh, like, can you get me a couple more? I need more for some other folks. It was like, let's go. Like, no questions asked. I'm at the next meeting. I'm like consistent, all that stuff. So make sure your building block is solid, because that's what you're going to duplicate. And what you do when you're focusing on that will make a big difference when you're a leader in your business. When you get to the other phases, that is the solid foundation to build a solid business. So that's what I would say. And for everybody listening to us, look, like success leaves clues. We talked a lot. We mentioned a lot of different stories, a lot of different stuff. So I hope people picked up on all the clues, even if we weren't direct with them. And remember, SW, 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 SW. Some will, some won't. So what? Somewhere, 6 will. And with that, I'm going to pass it back to Vishal and Sonika.